25 years ago, shortly after we moved here, and by shortly after, I mean like a few days after we moved to the area from Washington State, we told our boys, who were at the time 11, 7, and 4, that we were going to go to Chicago. And our oldest son, who was 11, said, well, we're already in Chicago. And we said, well, no, we're in Lake Bluff. We're not in Chicago. We're going to go to Chicago. And they go, well, we told our friends we were moving to Chicago. And we go, yeah, we told our friends we're moving to Chicago. And they go, well, we lied to our friends. And we said, well, no. And they go, you tell us not to lie, and now you're lying to our friends. I can't believe that you guys are lying to our friends. It turns out really hard to explain to 4, 7, and 11-year-olds how telling people in Washington that you're moving to Chicago when really you're moving to Lake Bluff is not a lie. It's just sort of what you say. Anyway, all of that to say, perhaps, since I'm now clearly a liar, I'm not qualified to talk about this commandment, the Ninth Commandment, which is what we take up this week, which is, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. So the gist of this commandment is a prohibition against making statements intended to lead people to believe something that you do not believe. Technically, the commandment is framed for a courtroom because in order to have a just society, you have to have just courts. In order to have just courts, you have to be able to get to the truth. And in order to get to the truth, especially in an era before DNA testing and fingerprints and audio recordings and everything else, you need to have credible eyewitness accounts. And so you end up with dictums and directives about people, eyewitnesses, telling the truth. Now, the context of the Ninth Commandment is pretty specific. As you might remember, all of these commandments end up getting updated by Jesus. They sort of get expanded. Not all of them, but they find a deeper layer by Christ. And this is no different. In the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5, verse 33, Jesus says, again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but keep your oaths that you have made to the Lord. But I tell you, do not swear at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. Simply let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. But I say to you, don't swear at all by heaven or earth or Jerusalem or the hair on your head. Just honor your word. Two things briefly today as we get into this commandment. First of all, there are some people, the Essenes, which was this group that gave us the Dead Sea Scrolls, and Jehovah's Witnesses and some Anabaptists and some other groups who take this commandment to mean you should never take a vow, not even in a court of law. I don't understand it that way. Secondly, just so you know, there's a big debate on this topic as to whether or not you can lie during times of war. And usually the way this gets framed is it ever right to lie? Should a Christian lie to a Nazi to save a Jew? Okay, so do you mislead the Nazi who's trying to kill the Jew, so you tell a lie, no, there's no Jews hidden here? So lots of debate, and actually in The Hiding Place, great a great story. It's not a novel, it's a true story. Corrie ten Boom and her sister and her father. If you've not read it, I would commend it to you. But at one point, Corrie believes that it is right to lie to the Nazis to save Jews, and her sister doesn't. I'll let you read that to figure out how that plays out. All that to say, I do think that there are situations, because the commandment says do not bear false witness against your neighbor. I think there are some limited situations, and by the way, I'm fine with jokes, and I'm taping this the week after the Super Bowl, so you can show that you're going to blitz when you're actually not going to blitz. There's deception that happens in games. So you can, I'm okay with those things. We'll unpack some of this later. Right now, it's the Ninth Commandment. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Have a good day.